boasting the league's best record and a near-perfect mark at home, the basketball world was finally swathed in a cloak of green and white. The NBA could boast its most familiar announcement. The Boston Celtics were the world champions. 15 times had Celtic fans stormed the parquet floor. 15 times had they raised their fists high. But number 16 just might be the sweetest one yet. On the eve of a new basketball season, Boston hurried to get things ready. The Garden became an arena of sublime pageantry as the NBA honored the Celtics, conquerors of the 1986 season.
I tell you, this year's team's going to have a lot of excitement in us. We're not going to live on last year's laurels. You stay behind us, and we'll be right back here next year doing the same thing.
Beneath the regal coat of arms stood 12 men, each knighted with title rings. They were the lords of professional basketball who were not about to stand on ceremony. These Boston Celtics sought to be the first team in 18 years to repeat as champions.
They come from the city that people call Boston town. They're the team that's already won 16 NBA basketball crowns. Boston Celtics in the NBA. Boston Celtics in the NBA. Boston Celtics in the NBA. They're gonna win the NBA.
It's gone. Three-point field goal for Danny Ainge. Now there's a steal by Bird. Underneath the DJ, lays it in.
Danny Ainge, Larry Bird, Robert Parrish, Bill Walker, DJ, Craig Kite, Sam Vincent, Fred Roberts, C-Sting, Connor Henry, Darren Day, and Kevin McHale. They're gonna win the NBA. Hey, Boston Celtics in the NBA. Boston's gonna win the NBA. Boston Celtics in the NBA. They're gonna win the NBA.
Now the long season starts. I mean, now really the hard part starts. It's not so much, it's hard in winning a title, but you can bet your bottom dollar it's harder defending this title.
I don't know, for some reason, I don't know, whatever it is, it seems that the team who's won has been kind of snake bitten next year as far as injury goes, as far as just having kind of some bad luck.
Injuries would in fact cast a dark shadow on the Celtics. Team depth wore thin, and key players were overburdened. Ailments reoccurred at a dizzying pace. But one injury inflicted the greatest hurt of all: the indefinite loss of center Bill Walton.
At the start of the season, the prevailing attitude was that I was going to be able to play even more this year than I played last year. I certainly felt that way. And then things went bad for me right from the start, and Robert never missed a beat. In fact, he increased his tempo, and this team would not be a championship team without Robert Parrish.
Robert Parrish has always been the glue that's kept an all-star front line intact. And with his best season to date, the Chief cemented his stature as the team's foundation.
With Scotty and Bill being out, that really hurt us in the depth department. We didn't have the rotation that we had the year before. So I feel like I had to pick up that slack off with those key injuries.
Without an experienced backup, Parrish often worked in pain and still led the team in games played.
Not knowing if and when Bill was going to be back. It's like he was giving everybody else on our team a piggy ride because he was actually carrying everybody or so.
With players on the mend, Boston looked down its bench and summoned all members of the second unit, the ever-hopeful Green Team.
It's not easy being green, having to spend each day the color of the leaves. When I think it could be nicer being red or yellow or gold or something much more colorful like that.
Without having Bill, it has totally changed the team. But I think this team has really pulled together and showed a lot of character.
When green is all there is to be, it could make you wonder why. But why wonder? Why wonder? I'm green, and it'll do fine. It's beautiful, and I think it's what I wanna be.
We know how to fill gaps, and we fill them pretty good, and I think the team as a whole will not let anybody suffer as a team. If they're gonna go down, they're all going down together.
The Celtics became survivalists, having to weather all kinds of adversity.
Now there's a technical foul being called by Joe Crawford. I think it's on Chris Ford.
Yeah, it is on Chris Ford. And Ford is not letting up lightly. He's coming out now. He's saying, I didn't say anything. For what?
All Chris wanted to know is why. Now another technical foul. They throw him out.
Casey's next, I
Now
think.
Casey is really going out. Another technical foul.
He's out. He's thrown out.
And I believe he's going out also.
With 2 coaches ejected and a third on assignment, Boston revived a team tradition and elected Dennis Johnson a player coach.
It didn't take DJ long to figure out that there wasn't no coaches around and it was his time to shine. And he started making substitutions, which, they were just hilarious.
It's not a bad record. Actually, we were down by 20 and we lost by 22, so my coaching was not really that bad.
Well, had nothing to do with any of that. I just wanted to go in the locker room, take a shower, and go home.
McHale's lighthearted manner turns quite serious when it comes to scoring.
It was like a little joke early on. We kind of kidded him that he was going to try and go for 20-plus points the whole season, and somewhere along the line, I think he thought we meant it, and he tried to go for it.
And one thing about Kevin, he's shooting such a high percentage, no one really gives him a lot of lip service about taking those shots, because he put a lot of them in. But once you pass into Kevin, don't expect it back at all.
No mercy, no quarter, no place to hide from me or the man. Left and rights never came in order. No mercy, take it while you can.
You stand there for a while just hoping, but from the bench you hear the coaches saying, hey, cut, Dennis, cut, because you're not going to get it back or whatever.
No mercy, no quarter, no place to hide from me or the man. Right and wrong never came in order. No mercy, take it while you can.
I called Kevin a long time ago the black hole. Once it goes in, it never comes back out.
No mercy, take it while you can.
Behind the surging McHale, the Celtics found themselves in fine mid-season form. The All-Star break offered few surprises. The Celtics were still the class of the East, and Larry Bird was a one-man floor show. At the annual three-point shootout, Bird amazed even the most critical fan. His superb marksmanship moved him into the finals against an eager Detlef Schrempf. Bird seemed destined to clinch his second straight shootout title until Schrempf found his mark. Schrempf could win by sinking his final 4 shots, an expertise mastered by his Celtic counterpart.
Well, you had the last shot, and they took a $12,000 shot there and missed it.
Good news appeared on the horizon. The Celtics were getting healthier. Led by the return of Bill Walton. By March, Boston's 6th man provided the team with a psychological lift.
Bill Walton taking off the warm-ups. He is going to enter this ball game when the people here at the Garden are up on their feet.
Walton's return was cut short, forcing him to anguish once more on the sidelines.
I've learned to accept the limitations that my body puts on my mind. And it's frustrating, it's painful, it's boring, but it's something that's there, and I have to deal with it. And really my only option is to quit, and that's not what I'm going to do, and that's not what I'm all about, and that's not what the Boston Celtics are about.
Willing to win at any price, Bill Walton is the embodiment of the Celtics' historic past.
It happens that tomorrow, April 13th, 1987, will mark the 30th anniversary of the date on which the Celtics captured the first of their 16 NBA World Championships.
For 2 generations, Boston has reigned as basketball's best, but this success extends far beyond player talent. It's rooted in team loyalty, nearly as deep as the love of the game itself.
If they traded me, I quit. I would never go on. This is the only team I'll ever play for. I knew that from the first day I came here, and I'm so proud to be a part of the Celtic tradition and the organization that, sometimes it might seem that way, but I don't think that I'll ever give up that Celtic uniform.
I think a lot of the Celtic tradition and things that have happened to them result directly from Red Auerbach. Red may not have gotten the best player each year in the draft, but he always drafted someone who was basically with a winner.
Motivating the troops a little longer than the next guy is what it's all about, and I'll tell you what, Auerbach used to do this year after year. We'd get into training camp, and we'd have the saliva dripping down the corners of our mouth after winning it the year before to come, let's do it again type thing.
I used to tell him, I say, you had a good summer? Everybody patting you on the back? The world champions? I said, it's going to take 2 losses in a row for people to say, who are those bums?
I think Red was the epitome of what a good manager would be in any business. He listened enough, and he still had ultimate control on the decisions that would be made. But as motivating for one season to the other, I think it was really down in the guts of all the players that he selected right from the beginning, that they wanted to be winners.
I think the similarity, if there is one amongst the eras, is a base of extremely talented players, extraordinarily talented players, who are complemented by very talented players who are willing to play a role.
However long I've been playing basketball, I always felt the best thing I could do for a team is sacrifice and do exactly what the coach wanted. That if that's the mold, then yes, I fit that mold. And that's basketball, though, and that's winning basketball. Great. Some call it Celtic basketball.
In a season filled with memorable evenings, one of the most stirring was a farewell to a visiting warrior.
Julius, a most respected and admired adversary whose great skill and competitive play has entertained so many for so long on the Boston parquet. This token gift for Julius.
With a tribute befitting a legendary Celtic, the Garden honored Philadelphia's Julius Erving. A unique performer and inspiration to one of the finest rivalries in sports history. Even on the brink of retirement, Irving's competitive fire still burned bright. However, the Sixers were overwhelmed by Robert Parrish, who became just the 2nd Celtic to post a triple-double during the Larry Bird era. Parrish's inspired effort spread like wildfire. The win would be the 400th in K.C. Jones' coaching career.
I remember the 200 thing. I got the basketball for that, but I didn't know about the 400, or I forgot about it. But I like that. It keeps me in a job.
When you play for a guy like that, you just wake up every morning saying, all right, what can I do for you today, Coach?
Blessed with a talented squad, KC's coaching talents are often overlooked, but the Celtic coach has gained a wealth of insight.
As far as getting credit, I'd rather have the wins than go out and lobby for credit. You're not going to get it anyway, because they pick you, you don't pick them. So there's nothing I can worry about.
Hey, Darren!
During his 4 years at the Celtics' helm, KC has always found ways to give the Celtics a competitive edge. But this season was the toughest one yet.
Huh? So far off me. No. But that's what they wanted. Take it to the basket so we can get the foul on them. No! Oh, dang! You couldn't see that!
Let's go. Come on,
hey, Sam!
Active dick.
Use the pick.
Active dick.
No, foul! Are you serious? Time out!
When you have the problems that come up on a basketball team, and there's certainly a lot of different types of problems that you get, he handles all of them so well.
There's a lot of coaches who probably can step into this situation and who can tear down a very, very good team like the Lakers, like the Celtics. And in KC, I find a brilliant person, a brilliant coach, and a brilliant man with just enough room to let us get a little leeway and then snap it right back to make us go right.
But during the season's final weeks, KC's Midas touch began to tarnish. Time and again, Celtic leads were squandered as apparent victories turned into nightmarish defeats. Most distressing was Boston's play on the road, where they had an unaccustomed sub-500 record.
Yeah, we hit a streak there where it never bothered me though, until it became a bigger and bigger deal with the media. And then as it was going along, it was 5 in a row, and 6 in a row on the road, and 7 and 8, and then it started to bother me. And more importantly, the players have started to react to that and say, well, we can't, it does a job on your psyche.
I think the fact that the team's not in awe of the Celtics and the Lakers anymore, they feel like they can beat us, and therefore they're playing with a lot more confidence against us.
Every place we play this year, it's a sellout. And I know when I was with the other team, San Antonio and Utah, you look at the schedule at the beginning of the year and you see when you're playing Boston, and that's one game that you're going to be ready for, you prepare for it. You mentally, it's not tough getting mentally and emotionally involved in the game and excited for that game.
Everywhere Boston went, they faced teams riding an emotional high. To knock off the Celtics could highlight a season, and the Green were given little respect in the process. Teams started to believe they could upend the defending champs, and as the playoffs edged closer, the Celtics searched for answers.
We played so bad at the end of the season. I always felt that if you're going to win a championship, you have to be on some kind of roll going into the playoffs. Well, we didn't play well at all. We really played bad on the road. Atlanta caught us. They had a chance to tie us, and there's no way they were going to beat us because we was at home.
By the season's final game, the Hawks were a team brimming with confidence.
I feel I can stop Kevin McHale. He's tough, but you got to know how to play him.
Obviously, Willis's theory needed a little work. The aching Celtics surprised Atlanta on 2 counts. They enjoyed many all-around efforts against a squad of noted player depth. Boston also out-hustled the Hawks under the boards. The Celtics were moving in concert, denying Atlanta opportunities as they bested the league's top defensive unit. On the line was the Eastern Conference home court advantage, and Larry Bird was not about to let it slip away. In a stunning performance, Bird announced to the NBA that playoff time was drawing near.
It's a miracle season, I believe, with our record. Second best in the league, and with all the injuries we've had from day one.
It was a playoff-type atmosphere, and that was fun. We needed some of that going into the playoffs. We've had, I think we've won 4 in a row now. We've had 4 really good games, and everybody's health is starting to come around, so that's a good thing.
McHale's optimism was promptly shrouded with gloom. While sweeping Chicago in the first round, Kevin re-injured his right foot.
I remember being in a hotel room on Tuesday night in Chicago. They told me I fractured a bone in my foot, lying in bed going like, boy, this is great news.
Missing his first playoff game ever, McHale watched Bill Walton fill in. The crafty redhead showed signs of regaining his stamina, but in a cruel twist of fate, he would also go down.
I was optimistic, and then when the playoffs started, I started to feel better and better. And then one day I just got to the gym and bang, my foot had broken again.
In Game 2 against Milwaukee, McHale was pressed back into action.
I made a decision to play. I'll worry about long-term later. Just, we'll do all the tests and everything we have to do after the season to see what needs to be done. But right now, I don't want to deal with that. I just want to play basketball.
Without the stability of a strong foot, McHale fought bravely to hold his position. He astonished everyone by logging 34 minutes in Game 3's overtime loss. He came back even stronger in Game 4 by matching Bird's 56 minutes in double overtime. Yet these heroics paled to the matters at hand as Milwaukee looked to tie the series. But help was provided by Darren Day, who conjured up memories of a previous Cinderella Celtic.
McDonald, around to the right, gives out to White. Back out to Havlicek. Underneath to McDonald, to follow. Here's McDonald!
11 years later, Boston got another memorable overtime effort.
Underneath it goes to Day. Day spins, fires, set. Big bucket by Darren Day.
I really never heard of Glenn McDonald's name until after that game. I feel that my performance was a little bit different and special in its way, and I feel that Glenn McDonald's situation and his performance was, very special in Celtic history in another way.
It looks like to me he just more or less is out there having fun. He knows it's business, but he's having fun. And that was my big thing about, basketball at any time. We just to go out, do the job you're supposed to do, enjoy the game as well, and then whatever happens, happens. And that's what he's doing right now.
Moved by Day's effort, Larry Bird settled matters with 2 big three-pointers. Boston averted a tie and gained a 3-1 series lead.
It was a real good playoff game. It was one of them type of playoff games that if you win, you're going to remember. If you lose, you're going to try to forget about it.
Boston took that memory into Game 5 and tried to tuck the series away in their back pocket. Victory seemed assured until Boston received another crippling setback.
Robert Parrish goes down hard and grabs his left ankle.
Boston failed to nail down the series and were suddenly without their center. Game 6 in Milwaukee belonged to the Bucks, and fans cheered former Celtic Don Nelson to bring home an upset. With a 2-game lead squandered, Boston again called upon its walking wounded. Ravaged bodies could not keep Robert Parrish or Kevin McHale out of any 7th and deciding game. They transcended pain and led the Celtics to a shocking 30-rebound advantage over the Bucks. Time and again, Nelson watched his men get beat by 2 ailing players. Most noteworthy was the work of Robert Parrish, whose 19 boards set a personal playoff record. Yet despite this bravery and conviction to win the series, Boston trailed throughout the game. By the fourth quarter, the tide was turning against the Celtics as Milwaukee's confidence swelled with each passing play. The Bucks were fresher and crisper on the fast break and seemed hungrier, chasing after every ball. The Celtics were shaken by the surging Bucks, who were closing in on an upset victory in the Garden. The champions looked haggard and badly needed help.
Another injury problem for the champions. Will it ever end? And here is the man who must shoulder the burden, Jerry Seastain.
Well, that is a tough situation to go into. Fortunately, with the pace of the game that basketball is played at, you don't have time to analyze the situation or really, build up the pressure on yourself in that time. But, things were going kind of bad at that point. I mean, it wasn't like it was a tie ball game.
Very tense feeling here at the Garden as the Celtics have fallen down by 8.
The Celtics were facing the heaviest of odds. They were a team besieged by injuries. Exhaustion drained those players left standing, and they were 4 baskets in the hole. These desperate times called for desperate measures.
Our ragtag guys just kept hanging tight. Made the effort, could easily roll over and said, don't have to shoot me because I'm dead already. But they didn't do that, no.
I was sitting in the locker room watching the game on TV with my knee in ice, and I was just praying that it wasn't the last game of the year.
That's why I play basketball, for moments like that.
With the season on the line, and Bird, DJ, Parrish, and McHale on the floor, Boston surprised everyone by turning to an unlikely hero.
On the left it goes to Seasting. He goes face up. Swift!
Back-to-back for Seasting.
By scoring 2 clutch baskets, the Celtics' smallest player set the stage for the team's big guns.
On the left it goes quickly over to Seasting. Back over to Bird. Bird turns around. Hit!
Got Larry. They got him off the double pick.
Boston grabbed the lead and needed to make a final stand.
Right now, quickly, they get the ball inside to Sigma. Sigma starts to drive. He gets bottled up. He throws an elbow, gets rejected anyhow. And the ball's going to go out of bounds on Sigma. On Sigma, and Nelson is beside himself. A great play by DJ. Here he slapped that ball back in play off Sigma, who lost it out of bounds.
Maybe the defensive play of the game right there.
All systems were go to move to the conference finals as Boston survived one of their tightest ordeals in recent years.
It was like being sent to the Russian front and you come back a winner. Even though your uniform's all torn apart, and half your arm is missing, and you say, "Boy, you guys look bad." Yeah, we won, but you should see the other guys.
The old adage is a wounded bear is the most dangerous one. Now we got enough wounds on us to last us a lifetime.
Added to the injury list was Danny Ainge, who joined the crowd in the training room.
I started in 1970 in the ABA and switched over to NBA in 72, and I have not seen a year like this with so many injuries, and it's not just now that it's a playoff, it's been all year.
Melchiori came to work in full battle gear, prepared to take on anything that was destined to come down his road.
Anybody who's ever stubbed a toe walking around the house barefooted can appreciate foot pain and understand how agonizing a foot injury can be. The fact that Kevin's been able to play with a fracture that it's been remarkable. I don't take any credit for that. I think that the individual, what he's able to endure, what he can do, makes him a great player. That's why he's here.
Ray has been good so far. He knows I'm hurt, so he actually doesn't get all crazy when I get on the table. He's really concerned. So this year, the playoff tape jobs have been pretty good by Ray. Normally, they give you the stranglehold, the boa constrictor special, and you just can't even play. You got to come in and cut it off and say, Ray, you got to tape this again. It's a disaster.
Well, I get accused that all year long. Every time I, get a little extra attention, somebody will say, oh, it's a playoff tape job. You try to get a feel for the players and feel their personalities out and see what they need to get encouragement to play and to play better and to win. Danny loves when I wear my cowboy boots and a stand-up collar.
See, Ray tries to be a cowboy and a preppy at the same time, and a motorcycle gang rider, so I don't know what he is.
Well, I enjoy it, whatever it is.
The march to the finals resumed, and the next opponents were the Detroit Pistons. Just 2 days after clinching a grueling 7-game series, Boston had to ignore its injuries and start afresh. The Celtics squared off against a deep and rested team, and once more, they had to prove their bravery.
Our bench has taken a lot of abuse this year. Sometimes we've deserved it, but a lot of times we haven't. And I think it showed up, in the playoffs, because when the guys have had to play in the key situations and have played a lot of time, everybody's played well. And a lot of the teams with the so-called great benches are on vacation right now.
Seasting stepped right into the Celtic flow, reminiscent of his winning ways against Milwaukee. He provided hustle at both ends of the floor, following up his smooth touch with a hawking defense. Seasting limited Isaiah Thomas to a mere 16 points in the opening game. Help also came from Robert Parrish, who scored 31 points and was in double figures in rebounds. By winning Game 1, Boston squelched all rumors of a post-Milwaukee letdown. In Game 2, center stage was handed over to Larry Bird, who convincingly gave Boston a 2-game advantage. Danny Ainge resurfaced in Detroit, where the Pistons had a lean and hungry look. The action was fast and furious as Boston fell to Detroit's physical play. Perhaps a little too physical at times. Detroit shifted into high gear, taking advantage of the Celtics' hobbled legs. With 2 straight wins at the Silverdome, momentum now swayed to the Pistons, who were not afraid to express their glee. The gauntlet had been thrown down, and the Garden prepared for a dogfight. Despite flaring tempers, Game 5 was loaded with outstanding plays, something Larry Bird has turned into a way of life.
I don't think it's no big secret to it. Everybody does know it's coming. And we just catch everybody at one particular point or off guard or so. And I just throw that baseball pitch or baseball pass or whichever one it may be, happen to be at that time. And this guy, for the hands that he have, I mean, if you look at his hands, they're terrible. They really are. I mean, knuckles and everything. Everything's up like this. And he can get them open to catch it, though.
You got 2 guys thinking on the same wavelength and knowing what the other guy's thinking. And I can try to play the way DJ wants me to play. And it's very easy for me to go out there and just make a move and just know it's coming. And he's the reason we're having so much success here. I think he's probably our most valuable player in terms of if we lost him, we'd be really hurting.
You better believe it. Hey, I give this guy the ball all the time. He better not say nothing different.
Down by 5 points in the fourth quarter, Boston was on the brink of a 3-2 series deficit. They rallied to go up by 1 and hoped to hold on.
All right, it goes now quickly over to Lambier, back to Thomas. Thomas bringing the ball up top. Starts the drive. Goes again. Starts the drive again. Stops. Thompson hits it. It's 107-106, but there are 17 seconds left, and Boston will get another crack at it.
The Celtics had a final chance to pull out the win, and all eyes were focused on one man. Larry Bird, basketball's undisputed miracle worker.
All right, Bird is putting the ball on the play, and Dumars comes over to get right on DJ, and DJ gets the pass anyway. All right, 14 seconds left. On the left it goes to Bird. Bird guarded by Mahorn. Drives around him. Goes on in. And the ball gets knocked out of bounds by no, they call it the other way. And now there's a steal by Bird. Underneath the DJ, lays it in. Right at 1 second left. What a play by Bird. Bird stole the inbounding pass. Laid it up to DJ. DJ laid it up and in. And Boston has a 1-point lead with 1 second left. Oh my, this place has gone crazy.
They had game 5-1. There's no question about it. They should have won that game, and they forgot about Larry Bird. That's all.
I tell you, Isaiah Thomas made a play. He'll remember the rest of his life. He just blew the play totally. And people ask me if I was surprised about Larry making that play. Heavens no, we see that play every day in practice.
There's no question they thought they had the game won, and I would have thought I had the game won too. But the thing is, they could have called timeout very easily and advanced the ball up court. But the players didn't see the coach hollering and screaming. Jerry's system put what we call great pressure on the ball, because if a guy's taking the ball out of bounds, you want to try to put some pressure on him to make him throw a lob pass or a soft pass out there. And after I got up off the floor after being knocked down, trying to score on the last play, I get up and I'm guarding Joe Dumars, and I seen Lambier standing there by himself, and all I did was run over there to try to foul him. And once I seen the ball being lofted up over Sisting's head, I felt I had a chance at it. And I got my hand in there and stowed it, and just as I got it, I'd seen a white jersey streaking down towards the basket. And I turn, and it's DJ, of course, and he gets it and lays it in.
Everything went wrong for them, and everything went right for us. And in 4 seconds, hey, we're on top, and we're ready to head for the World Championships. One more victory to go, and we couldn't be happier. We're psyched.
Things grew sticky in Game 6. Jimmy Rogers replaced Casey Jones, who attended his mother's funeral. Meanwhile, no substitute was found for an absent Robert Parrish. Visions of Game 7 were dancing in Detroit's heads as they tied the series at 3 games all. Boston swallowed a bitter pill, washed down by the mocking gestures of Dennis Rodman. His unrestrained mirth was the burning image the Celtics would carry into Game 7.
Let's go, fellas.
Thanks.
Game 7.
The final game would be played in the Boston Garden. Even in complete silence, this hallowed hall thundered basketball's most riveting memories.
Play.
on the Pistons' minds was the time-honored success of Celtic playoff glory. Detroit may have been swifter and healthier, but they were at a distinct disadvantage. They faced men whom have gelled together for 3 championships and experienced pressure the young Pistons have never known. Detroit may have been a game away from its first finals, but happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. These Celtics were aided by the legendary ghosts of the Boston Garden, whose spirit infused fans and players with an unshakable measure of confidence. Also haunting Detroit was the Celtics' incomparable home record. During the regular season, Boston extended its Garden-winning streak to 48 games. And in the playoffs, they looked just as formidable. If Detroit were to steal a 7th game in the Boston Garden, they had to play the game of their lives. From the outset, both squads unleashed their full arsenal of firepower. Each team scratched and clawed their way into the lead, paying the price for their ambitions. Scorned opponents squared off as Bird matched baskets with the flamboyant Dennis Rodman. But the final moments belong to the 3-time MVP as Bird slammed the door on the Pistons. And his teammates threw away the key.
Danny has the ball, stripped by Thomas, but he gets it back. Now Thomas falls down. Danny clears. Danny fires. Danny misses. Bird gets the rebound on the baseline. Bird brings it up back out to Danny. Out it goes deep to DJ. DJ brings it down to the left. All right, DJ back out to Danny. Now to Bird. Bird throws it up. It is no good. The rebound goes to McHale. McHale holds the ball back over to DJ. Less than 4 minutes to play. Boston is working hard on the board. They're not hitting, but they're working hard on the board. All right, DJ with the ball. Drops it off to Bird. Double team back to DJ. Back over to Bird. Bird has Rodman on him. And Bird throws it up. It is no good. The rebound comes back out to McHale. McHale's in the lane. The throw. The shot is no good. Parrish the rebound. Parrish works. Parrish looks like he got fouled. Bird gets the rebound. On the left, it goes over to Ames. Ames back over to DJ. It's really rough as a cob underneath there. Now Bird up fake. Back to Ames. Ames a 3-point attempt is gone. A 3-point field goal for Danny Ames.
Few had guessed the Celtics could go the distance against a far healthier team. But Boston wore down the Pistons and moved on to the finals. The Celtics won their second straight 7-game series and looked to capture a 17th flag against their old rivals, the Los Angeles Lakers.
You know, nobody gets you up more than Boston. As long as Larry's on the other side and I'm on this side, it's going to always be that. And after it's over, when we play in these all-star games, these old-timer games, we're going to want to beat each other. And after that, when I see him on a park and recreation, I'm going to want to kill him then, too. He's going to want to kill me.
Anytime you play against the Lakers, you get this type of feeling where, you know, you feel like you got to win. You got to win. I don't care if they win 1 game out 4 or 5 or 7. You still got to win. You got to beat them because the Celtics have always defeated them.
The fatigued Celtics were without their accustomed home court advantage. They stood toe-to-toe with several familiar faces who were coming off 3 carefree playoff series. With With just 1 day's rest, Boston appeared worn out, and LA proceeded to run them into the ground. In 2 straight games in the Forum, Boston seemed a step behind as they lost by decisive margins. Coupled with these painful losses were aches and bruises that failed to disappear. 3 starters played hurt, and bench strength was weak. Team strategy also suffered, as Boston hadn't a clue how to slow down LA. Yet the final insult was served by the Laker fans, who turned their backs on any chance for a close series.
If I said fatigue was a factor, I'd be lying. I think we were totally embarrassed by their running, and it just totally took our minds away. They did everything I expected, and I very carefully went through practice of their players, their run game, their transition, and we had the perfect plan. It didn't work.
Enduring the blues of 2 straight final losses, Kevin McHale gained comfort with Nils Lofgren, a friend and traveling musician with Bruce Springsteen's E Street Band. He was singing proof that not all celebrities back the Lakers.
No mercy, take it while you can. There you go. Thank you.
That's a great song.
I've found just in hanging out, especially on tour, because I was on Bruce's tour for years, a year and a half, and I wound up 4 or 5 different times being in the same city, just because Kevin was traveling around with the team. So I ran over and introduced myself, and we just started talking and stayed in touch and got to know each other. That was when we met.
Yeah, I just was really surprised on how knowledgeable he was about basketball, how up he was on basketball. You know, I guess up to that point, I always figured, you know, rock and roll stars just slept and got up and partied and just played music. But he watched television. There's a lot of similarities with the travel and going out and having to give your best. But in the entertainment business, everybody expects you to be at your best every single minute, and it's tough. And same with basketball.
Yeah, this is a song I just wrote concerning the game tomorrow and what's going on here. It's just talking to Kevin a few days ago on the phone. He was using a line out of my song, and I kind of added 3 new lines to it to apply to the game. Here it is. It started in LA. All I heard was sweet. The Lakers are awesome, so fast and so deep. But the Celtics are champions. Don't you ever forget that the sun hasn't set on these boards yet. No, the sun hasn't set on these boards yet.
With their backs to the wall, the Celtics regrouped and thoroughly re-examined their strategy.
All they've done is won 2 home court games. Now it's our turn. We're home. Let's see what happens.
Back in Boston, the Garden proved to be a Celtic man's best friend. An hour before the start of Game 3, fans rallied to voice their sentiment. Doomsayers stated the contrary and called for the broom. But the only thing that bristled was Celtic pride, which sought revenge. The opening moments mirrored the beginnings of games 1 and 2. The Lakers concentrated on key matchups and used their blazing speed to open a first-quarter bulge. Trailing by just 7, the Celtics were within an earshot of the lead. This time, Larry Bird made sure things did not get out of hand. The Celtics looked for their leader each time down court, and Bird responded to pick Boston off the floor. The Celtics were building steam and learning how to derail the Lakers. A big factor was the work of Greg Kite, who shedded his role player status to become a Celtic Superman. For the first time, Boston won the inside game, controlling their own offensive glass and standing on defense with their newfound muscle. The breaks now fell in the Celtics' favor as they defeated the Lakers 109-103. Boston gained new hope and a new star as they cut the lead to one slim game. After a solid win over the Lakers, word quickly spread that the 1987 finals were not over. As usual, Game 4 would be the pivotal contest in an NBA Finals. In the balance was the difference between a tied series and a needed 3-game comeback for the Celtics. The call went out for the men in green to fulfill their preseason quest to become the first team in nearly 2 decades to repeat as champions. The first half was all Celtics. Behind Boston's stalwart defense, the Lakers couldn't get untracked and trailed by as many as 16 in the third quarter. But the Lakers showed no signs of quitting. They returned to the fundamental element of their success, team speed. The Lakers' quick feet paid off at both ends of the floor as they gradually chipped away at Boston's lead. With their margin evaporating, Boston had to crawl back on top. The ball was entrusted to Larry Bird, who promptly nailed a jumper. In turn, the Lakers fired back by going to their venerable center, who lifted LA to a 1-point lead. With less than a minute remaining, Bird desperately tried to escape the airtight seal of James Worthy. Bird's gutsy three-pointer put Boston up by a basket, and a tied series almost in reach. But with 8 seconds left, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar stepped to the foul line. His first shot cut the lead to 1, and a second was decisively off target. The ball bounced off McHale's hands, and unexpectedly, the Lakers had one last chance. In one brief moment, Boston's season had turned for the worst. Just 2 seconds remained, and a stunned Boston Garden staged a desperate rallying cry. Prayerful fans looked skyward for heavenly intervention. Their hope was for Larry Bird to sink one last miracle shot. Somehow, Bird managed to shake free for a three-point attempt. It was long. The Celtics had lost. There were no miracles tonight. After winning Game 3, the Celtics seemed destined to even the finals. But tonight, victory was cruelly snatched from their grasp. No words would suffice. No explanations would do. The Celtics had lost in the Boston Garden. Despite disappointment, there was still plenty of magic left in the parquet floor. In Game 5, the Celtics would not give up. History had proven they were capable of overtaking a 3-1 disadvantage, and now they look to take their first step. Boston withstood everything the Lakers could muster. Valiant players winced, but never caved in to excruciating pain. In their final home appearance, Boston rewarded its fans with a sterling playoff victory. Their performance captured the very best in Celtic basketball. The Boston Celtics proved they could overcome pain, conquer great odds, and maintain the championship spirit of the Boston Garden, the undisputed home of the brave.